Good to go. Thank you. Okay, everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the Community and Infrastructure Services Committee meeting. People interested in participating in committee meetings can register online using the delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. Please refer to the delegation section on the agenda for the electronic participation deadline. Written comments received will be circulated prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. The meeting live stream and archive videos are available at www.kitchener.ca/watchnow, and accessible formats and communication supports are available upon request. Okay, do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent items. Does anyone have any questions or wish to discuss the consent items? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Can I have a mover, please, for the consent items? Councillor Michaud, and thank you, Councillor Chapman, for seconding that. All those in favor? Thank you, and that carries. Okay, we'll move on to delegations now. To all delegations, the City values and encourages participation and dialogue in a democratic process that occurs in Council and Committee meetings and through written submissions and correspondence. It is important that these interactions remain respectful towards other members of the public, staff, and Council. In cases where dialogue is not respectful, or a delegate interrupts councillor, staff, or other delegations, makes derogatory statements about councillors, staff, or others that are disrespectful, or uses hate language or hate speech that is considered harmful or defamatory, the chair may interject and take necessary actions to maintain a respectful and inclusive environment for everyone, which could involve removal from the meeting. One last reminder, delegations are permitted to address council for a maximum 5 minutes, which will be displayed on the screens in front of you. When there's 30 seconds remaining in your time, you will hear a small audio tone that will signal 30 seconds remaining. Please take time to conclude your presentation, as there will be a second tone at the completion of your time, and the microphones will turn off shortly after the exceeded 5-minute mark. Lastly, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas shared with us from our community members. Thank you. Okay, and now we'll move on to our discussion items. And up next is our Vision Zero annual project update. And we have staff with us today, Erin McCrimmon-Jones, our Manager of Transportation Safety and Policy, and Connor Payne, our Project Manager, Transportation Safety, will provide opening remarks. Please go ahead.
Good to go? Awesome. Good afternoon, members of council and all those in chambers today. My name is Connor Payne, and I'm the Project Manager of Transportation Safety with the City of Kitchener. I'm joined today with my colleagues, Erin McCrimmon-Jones, Manager of Transportation Safety and Policy, as well as Barry Cronkite, Director of Transportation Services. We are pleased to present the 2025 Vision Zero Update Report. The report before you today speaks to the progress made towards the action items identified in the Vision Zero Action Plan in previous years and outlines the nearly 40 improvements that we are seeking approval for today. Some of the key highlights of this report include 0 reported fatalities in 2022 and 2023, and we expect the 2024 data to have 0 collisions once we receive the final data set. This will mark 3 consecutive years of 0 fatalities on City of Kitchener-owned streets. In 2024, staff collected follow-up data on the 2023 hotspot locations, and we are pleased to report that an average of 8.2 kilometers, or a 15% decrease in vehicle speeds, collected along the 2023 hotspot locations. In 2024, staff will analyze the, or in 2025, staff will analyze the 2024 locations and report to council in 26. There was 180 Highway Traffic Act charges issued through the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program through our collaborative, data-driven process with the Waterloo Regional Police Service. In 2024, Road Safety Educational Campaign yielded 8 million impressions across TV and social media ads, not including those received through radio ads. This year, we will continue with the similarly structured education campaign, which is actually launching today on broadcast, social media, and radio platforms. A new school zone skill sheet was created in partnership with the Waterloo Student Transportation Services, which can be referenced in Attachment A or Attachment C of this report. The educational material gives tips to parents and students on how to safely navigate driving, walking, and rolling to schools. Counselors are also welcome to share this resource with their communities. There are 18 hotspot improvement locations, 6 of which are within school zones, that have been identified for 2025 and all summarized in Attachment A of this report. These include 30 raised traffic calming measures on 14 different streets, 1 pedestrian crossover location, 1 always stop location, 1 pedestrian refuge island, 1 intersection pavement marking upgrade, approximately 500 meters of sidewalk and multi-use trail infill, and the continued use of 18 flex signs per ward, which includes 340 individual signs across the city and 1 radar feedback board per ward. In addition to the hotspot measures, there will be 16 streets reconstructed using Complete Streets guidelines, creating slower, safer, and more community-focused right-of-ways that service all street users. Finally, staff are in the process of renewing our partnership with the University of Waterloo and the City of Waterloo to continue the use of LiDAR devices to track and analyze near misses at intersections, to identify problems and implement specific solutions to target these near miss movements. Based on the positive progress highlighted through this program, staff continue to recommend the data-driven hotspot program in lieu of the formal traffic program as outlined in the staff report. The hotspot program is predictive, equitable, and data-driven in making safety improvements across our street network. Collaboration with our key partners has been fundamental to the success of the Vision Zero program. We will continue to focus on these strategic partnerships moving forward with both our internal and external collaborators. Thank you for your time, and we are more than happy to answer any questions following our delegations here this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. And Councillor Singh, I see that you have your microphone on. Do you want to, can you wait until, oh, okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead now with our delegations then. And first up, I have Olivia Otterbein, please. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out today, and you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Olivia, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the initiative. This movement has involved many teachers, meetings, hours of collecting data, organizing it, and so much more. It's all been about the safety of students arriving and leaving school. So, this did not go exactly as planned on here. Let me just, we had a video planned, but it,
Perhaps,
oh, here it is.
oh, there you go.
Okay, so,
Perhaps staff can help you with that?
yeah. So please watch the video above. Thank you. So demonstrated in that video, the area outside Cameron Heights Collegiate Institute is unsafe. It is unsafe for many KW community members, spanning from our neighbors in the Edith McIntosh Emergency Shelter, swimming pool goers, and for ourselves and all the students that go to Cameron Heights. So here is the next slide. Our school is on number 2, and we share a faculty parking lot with Edith McIntosh Emergency Shelter. We share a student parking lot off of Sterling Road with MCC Thrift on Kent for the safety of our students. There will be more on drop-off locations after. So students are meant to be dropped off in the parking lot across the street labeled number 1, that is across from Cameron Heights. Then, to avoid the dangers of Sterling Road, students are meant to walk all the way from the parking lot to the end of the street at the traffic light where you can see the designated pedestrian crossing. There's also an ion stop there. This is an approximate 5-minute walk extra just to get to school safely. This has made us question if drivers would ever be asked to drive 5 minutes out of their way to make students' routes quicker. Instead of this, students go across the busy road on the green line that you can see. That's packed full of bus traffic, school and city, aggressive drivers, and more just when they're trying to get to school. This current method of getting to school is dangerous and needs adjustment. So let me just find the proper. So here is our drop-off locations that are outside of our school. Cameron is in the middle, and around you can see all the drop-off locations that are outlined. There's not much parking available for students other than the MCC Thrift. So now onto the quotes portion. Oops. So an anonymous grade 10 has said, "I hate crossing Sterling Road. I don't like it and it scares me when I see cars coming. I think that not having a crosswalk is one of the weirdest things." Another grade 10 has said, "Sterling is very chaotic and that it's unsafe. Even with teachers, it doesn't guarantee a student's safety when crossing." James, who's been a teacher of 2 years at Cameron, says he's shocked to see the risk that students face when trying to cross the road and that it's very dangerous for students. He says that kids dart between cars and sometimes even bicycle in the wrong lanes just to avoid crossing the street. Next up, we have a quote from a parent who had helped us collect data, which you'll see later. She has said that it's hard to imagine that we let so many kids risk life and limb every morning and afternoon, as this happens 2 times a day. For my final quote, it's from a grade 12 parent that states, "Sterling without a crosswalk continues to be unsafe for students and drivers alike. I won't ask my daughter to cross that street." We appreciate your time and this opportunity for our student voices to be heard. I'd like to close this part of the presentation with other ideas that will hopefully get you reflecting about other possible solutions to this problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Otterbein, for coming in. We do have a question for you. Please go ahead, Councillor Chapman.
Thank you so much for coming and for providing that video and your presentation. That was very useful. So Cameron Heights has the IB program, is that correct? And
Yes, that is.
does that influence at all any part of your presentation or your concerns around, are most of those students, do they get bused into the school or how do they get there?
We do actually have lots of buses, and as an IB school, we'll get more to the amount of buses later, but as an IB school, we definitely have a lot of traffic that is not accounted for busing, like bus routes don't cover all the students that are out of catchment region, and so we do often have a lot of IB students that use the parking lot and get dropped off there and must cross. And so IB is a really large part of Cameron and our culture, and just having those extra resources that help us to get into better universities and things like that. And so not having access to transportation that is typically used is another factor that influences how much cars actually come and use this road.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Thanks for coming in and for taking the video and getting all that information. What I'm having trouble understanding is there is a safe way to get to school, but you say it takes 5 more minutes. I'm trying to comprehend why you would risk crossing and not taking the extra 5 minutes to get there safely.
Yeah, so often students will, they will recognize that there is a safer means of getting to school, except as most of you probably know, you've been to school and you know that schedules are hectic and you're not always going to take the safest option if it means that you can get to school faster simply to not miss a test, or you're under a lot of stress when you have to get to school in the morning. And so it's often easier to just say, oh, I'll just cross, it'll be fine. But and skip that 5-minute walk, which will just completely take you off your route. But it's a lot of extra effort, especially when you're trying to get to school in good time, and the traffic is nonstop throughout the day as well, and you'll see that later on. So yeah, I feel like that's just students not being fully aware of the dangers that they're seeing until they actually cross the street and see, oh, that was not good, but I'll just have to do it again tomorrow to avoid this hectic walk.
Yeah, okay, but still, I mean, there is a safe way, and if they have a test or an assignment due, and they want to make sure, would they not maybe leave 10 minutes earlier and account for that time?
I feel like some students would, but then other times I feel like some students don't always have the luxury of getting ready that much earlier, and they have like a set time that they need to be there, and their parents are dropping them off. So it just needs to be a really quick turnaround time for like many people that go to Cameron. And so I feel like that kind of compensates for just how many are using the crosswalk, although there is the other option that just requires them to go the extra mile.
Okay, and just want to get your thoughts on what responsibility do you think the school board and the school has in student safety? Could they provide a safe drop-off area at the school?
I feel like everybody's kind of responsible for this issue, as it's impacting the school board students, but it's also impacting the city streets, because it's not just students that are crossing here. It's people who use the shelter, the emergency shelter, and there's people that are swimming and all of that. And so it's not just, it could definitely involve the school board, and I think that would be good to get as many voices in as possible. But it also just is the city and having like accountability everywhere. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. We still have another question. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, this isn't, I'm not terribly familiar with this area, so I just want to make sure I understand. So in the report, staff does have a pedestrian refuge island listed for this year. So are you in support of that, or are you asking for something different than that?
I think that we're all very thrilled about that island that will be implemented. And I think that it will definitely change the issue and change the narrative of what's happening there. And so we're very grateful for that, and thank you so much. I feel like I'm not sure if we'd say like in addition to, but I feel that there are many solutions that could be implemented at the same time potentially. And so although I'm not too clear on like the rules, like all the rules that are outlined, I feel that having like the median could also be added to on top of that. Having a crosswalk like showing where you're meant to go would also be helpful. So.
Okay, that's great. I know it can be intimidating to come up and speak there. You've been asked a lot of questions and you've done really well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, and next up we have Joshua. Turn myself up. Next up we have Joshua Alega, Dokhan Iser, and Ruhan Kumar for a 10-minute presentation. And Council, what I'll ask is that we're actually going to finish with all of our delegations and then hold our questions to the end, and we can ask the delegates one by one to come back. Okay, thank you. And you have 10 minutes, and please go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Hello, Council. My name is Joshua Alaga. I'm a grade 11 IB student attending Cameron Heights.
Hi, my name is Rohan Kumar. I'm also a grade 11 student at Cameron Heights.
My name is Dokhan Iser. I'm a grade 11 IB student at Cameron Heights.
And so we're here to build off of what Olivia said, the issue that students at Cameron Heights have to face when they cross that busy Sterling Avenue South Road to get to either the parking lot in the afternoon or come to school in the morning. And so we're here to provide a more statistical analysis and raw data so that you can have assurance that this is an actual real issue.
One of our primary findings of our committee of 15 people who went out and manually conducted research around the area to get a proper understanding of what was going on is the pure amount of pedestrians that resort to using this road to cross the street. As we can see from this graph, we took time between 45-minute time intervals, which were used to measure the amount of pedestrians crossing between those times and how many of those were CHCI students. During these times, you can see that there is around up to almost 200 pedestrians coming in and out of school and relying on crossing this road unsafely to be able to get to their destination. This is directly validates the point that Olivia was talking about earlier, that there is a legitimate, despite the dangers of the road, the pure the pure idea of being able to cross the road faster, especially when there's so much pressure on students, arrive earlier, it's going to be on your report card, for example, or to even not be 5 minutes to showing up to your parents' car. Something as simple as that could incentivize a student to take a much riskier route that would not need to be the case if that route was made safe through the city. Our other findings concern how this coincides with coming traffic. We measured that during these critical moments of 7:30 to 8 to 8:45 and from 2 to 2:45, that there is around 350 to around 415 vehicles crossing in these areas and are using this road, which directly coincides with the pedestrian traffic. You can also see that for the pedestrian part, because our school ends at around 2:25, this last area of pedestrian peak is concentrated within 20 minutes. Now imagine, and to add to the chaos, there are also buses that have to park on the side of this road to be able to properly transport the students that use buses. Not to mention, there's also a bike lane that occasionally parents will park at if they don't want their students to cross, which will not only incentivize bikers to use the other lane. This isn't showcased in the graph because this was taken during the winter, but it is a legitimate risk. Now combine all of this with the stress of students trying to rush to their parents or trying to rush to their school. Combine this with the stress of parents getting in and out of the parking lot, combined with the ongoing traffic in that region that would exist nonetheless. And then imagine the chaotic situation that would ensure ahead. What our data shows is that there are nearly from 150 to 200 students dangerously crossing in the morning and the afternoon every night, and that this is an accurate representation of what is going on in these regions.
However, it's not only the volume of pedestrians and cars which are traveling on Sterling, which is a concern, but also the speed at which these cars are traveling. So our team found that the median speed which we had measured was 48 kilometers an hour, which is 8 kilometers above the speed limit which was on Sterling Avenue. Now, 48 kilometers may not seem as a lot, but the Federation for Traffic Safety has found that speeds of up to 48 kilometers an hour increase the chance of serious injury, such as broken limbs, by 50%. Furthermore, this data has a large lower end as well, but we also measured the amount of speed which cars that were accelerating, and also stopping at the intersection at the crossing we're going at. We also found that cars were going as high as speeds of 70 kilometers an hour. Now, how did we collect this data? So on February 27, 2025, our teacher sponsors, Mr. Green and also Mrs. Maxwell, had went out during the winter day to collect the speed, the amount of pedestrians, and also the amount of cars which were going. Yeah.
And ultimately, what does this mean? What are we trying to say with this data? Is that there's an issue with students crossing and there needs to be a solution. And so from the 350 to 450 cars traveling through that street the entire day, or whether it's like the peak of students going across that street in the morning and afternoon, and then combining that with the high speeds that those cars are traveling at, then it creates a serious issue. I remember last year even how scary the Ion train incident was, where a student was stuck under the ion train, but can you imagine how much risk is also attributed to when such a high number of students are trying to cross and such a high number of cars are trying to cross at such high speeds in one intersection? It creates a problem that needs to be solved. Even one study done by the Foundation of Traffic Safety found that there's a 25% increase in injuries and death when cars are going around the 40 kilometer per hour range. So we just truly wanted to reiterate this issue with this data that we've collected here today. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are you completed?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, what we're going to do is to ask you to go and sit down. We're going to have the rest of the delegations, but we'll probably ask you to come back up again to answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, up next we have Adrielle Shipstone, please. Thanks, Adrielle, and you have 5 minutes. Thanks.
Hello. Okay. Thank you so much. On that note, I'm here to talk about the student body. I'm Adrielle Shipstone, and I'm in grade 10. I've been witnessing driver aggression and risky crossings since grade 9, especially when I first started coming to the school. I now don't use the student parking lot because of the unsafe crossing and the times my friends have told me how they have been impacted negatively by not having a crosswalk or island to get across to Cameron. There are over 1,700 students at Cameron Heights, and about 850 of those students are in IB. These students are out of the catchment area and are either driving or taking public transport as they have no option to walk, bike, or take a school bus. I am one of these students who is in the IB program and am obligated to use public transport to get to school. As we know, transit fares are expensive and can be out of reach for many students. Because of this, there are about 556 students who live in the bus zone area and 298 students who live in the walking zone area. Students are driven to school or carpooled and get dropped off at Sterling Avenue, where there are 12 buses who load and making it very busy as parents are not allowed to come into the school parking lot while they only want what is best for their kids. Some students may arrive late or have something come up in the morning, making students come and go all day long, with approximately 660 of them crossing in front of speeding cars, impatient drivers trying to get home or coming to school during rush hour, and other inexperienced drivers leaving the school. During these times, by having some volunteers, including myself, we were able to track some speeds as well, with the average speed being a 48 kilometer per hour on a 40 kilometer per hour road, as we can see on this graph, and the highest to be 72 kilometer per hour between 9:30 to 10:15 on February 27th. This is very unsafe, especially for pedestrians crossing Sterling Avenue. Additionally, me and a few of my peers have written an article for a school newspaper advertising the news about adding a crosswalk or island to Sterling Avenue, which has allowed students to get involved and has allowed many people to know about this cause, as it is affecting all of us, not just Cameron Heights. Furthermore, Sterling Avenue has been recognized, and we are supported by Vision Zero to install a pedestrian refuge island on Sterling Avenue at the Cameron Heights School entrance, which will improve the safety for pedestrians crossing Sterling Avenue to get to Cameron Heights Collegiate or near Cameron Heights Collegiate. We admire your commitment to give us this crosswalk island to Cameron Heights, and we encourage you to support our school as well, as we are all connected to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shipstone, and we will be asking questions soon. Thank you. Next up is Leslie Maxwell, please. Hi, Leslie, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hi. Through you, Madam Chair, thank you all for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Leslie. I had a slideshow as well, so I'll just give it a moment. Great. I really am only here in case the kids couldn't make it today. Sorry for calling you kids, you young people. They have done such a great job. I'm here to speak in support of their work and to set a little bit of context if it was needed. So they've already mentioned how many students are in the student body. I want to really highlight that almost half of them are in the IB program or almost half of them live outside the catchment area and are likely in that IB program. We have a good number of school transportation vehicles coming to the school. Most of the small buses, taxis, and vans are all managed on the school site, along with the staff parking. But the particular arrangement on this site, the school footprint is very small. The parking is barely large enough for staff. And then we share that site with the pool. There's parking that has to be reserved for the pool and parking that has to be reserved for the shelter. So it's a tight space, and this extra parking lot has given some opportunity for students to drive and or their families to pick up and drop off. Students have done a lot of work in a lot of different ways to bring this matter to you. They wanted to get the opinions of their peers. They wanted to get data as well as they could on the street, and they've created a logo. It just kind of shows how much they care about this cause. And I know through my work that other students have tried this in the past and have never been this organized, so we were very excited to bring this voice forward today. Data collection also took a lot of extra effort, and it was also done in 0 degrees and very wet snow all day. And of course, we couldn't quantify the learning and the fun that happened that day. This information is on another slide in a different looking graph. This shows you that when the speeds happened throughout the day, more or less. So that 72 kilometers was at about 10:30, and the 23 was in the afternoon peak. And then you've seen this, so I don't want to spend too much time on it already because they've done a great job of sharing what they needed to share with those. In conclusion, I do want to say that I support everything these students have brought forward, as well as this proposal and this report by your staff. There are so many remediations we did not expect. We didn't know about this pedestrian island suggestion until last week, and we just wanted to make sure that we were here to represent and to give you the information that you might need to at least get staff out to take a look at it, but I see that they were way ahead of us. So speaking in support of the report, and fully trust and thank the staff for bringing all of these matters that are in the report to your attention today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll wait for you to be on deck as well for questions. Thank you. Next up, we have Rory Lee, please. No? Okay. I also have on here Donna Jeske. Oh, yes. Please come up. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Jeske. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I just have a comment to make. Sorry, excuse me. I went out end of September till December, I think it was. Anyways, I was crossing Kindegard at the end of the laneway. And not pretty. Sorry, because I almost seen it getting ahead. So I'm very passionate to make sure something gets done for these kids, because it's not safety. And it's not just our students, it's also the fact that there's the shelter that people are trying to cross, kids in strollers, parents trying to push them, and chaos with all the speed and distracted driving and aggressive driving. And I just don't want to see that happen again. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Okay, Council, if you want to key in, and if you can please say whom you want to address your question. Wondering if maybe we can have the delegates maybe come and sit down there, and then we'll be able to call you up to answer questions. And Councillor Stretch, you are up first.
The initiative coming in and doing your best with the research and the data that you've collected. I really am appreciative of that. And I have a few questions. What kind of work have you done within your school? Like, have you connected with student council and done some education around safety?
Did you want to direct that to anyone in particular?
I'll direct that to Joshua.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes, there's been communication with different clubs and people throughout our school. In fact, I believe we were talking about it, like how the past few student activity council presidents have been saying that they're going to advocate for for a solution to that problem, like of students crossing that road, but nothing has ever happened. So we use this initiative as a more organized way to streamline our efforts so that there can be something productive and something that can be shown at the end of the day for our efforts. So yes, there's been communication with other people. Yes, there's been, efforts before in the past, but I believe we're the first to actually, allow our efforts to come to fruition. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And so when you say different presidents or co-presidents at Cameron, are you part of a class or a group, or what has drawn you together?
So what has drawn us together isn't like a particular class. We weren't in like a, transportation class or something like that. It's just we're all a group of people that have recognized this as an issue, but have also committed to perform action so that something can result from it. So it wasn't like it was a club or something at the start. It was just more of we all just recognized that there's a need, right? And then we all came together and we all figured out what's the first thing we're going to do. First thing is we're going to try to gather as much people as possible who are interested in it. Then after that, we worked on collecting the data, getting the speed guns, picking the day out. That was meeting after meeting. And then, finally preparing for this this council meeting, right? And then getting ready for it. So it was just all steps leading towards that. It was just, it all kind of naturally came to fruition, but it's also because we worked at it.
Okay,
We're the first to work
you.
at it. Yeah.
This question is for Mrs. Maxwell. So is this a club of students? How are they able to meet and organize if it wasn't a class?
Volunteered their lunch hours. There was a random question by Josh to the former VP who started the year at CHCI, and that started the ball rolling. And that VP and Josh put a call out to say, is this a problem to anybody else? And then people started showing up, and we would hold a meeting. They would hold a meeting. I would just be there to give advice and answer questions. But they would hold a meeting, and I witnessed, sometimes it wasn't announced in advance. They would just say on a Tuesday, we're meeting in 10 minutes in room XYZ for the crosswalk issue. They called themselves Crosswalk for Cameron. And people would show up, and they would spend their full lunch hour with us.
Great, thank you. And IB is an optional magnet program, correct? So students are able to choose or are accepted?
Yeah, the International Baccalaureate program offers a bit of a specialized study program, and so it attracts a lot of people in the region because they want to give their kids the best chance.
Right, but it is a choice.
It is a choice, and that is why busing is not offered. And that's why transportation is a personal, duty. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch. Councillor Michaud.
This might be a question for staff, so I can...
If it's a question for staff, then we'll ask questions of them next. Do you have something for the students?
No.
No.
It's okay.
Okay.
I don't think they'll
All
be able to
right.
answer this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Schneider.
Thanks, Chair Johnson. Thank you again. A lot of effort gone into this. We love to see that. We love that you're coming before Kitchener Council and sharing your concerns on all the research that you did. I'm just wondering, have you shared this at a school board meeting, with a trustee meeting? Because this is a shared issue with the city and the school board. Have there been things like staggered start and dismissal times discussed? That could help with some of the congestion. That might be a possibility. Has the school board been asked, like, is this the best school to have this IB program at when you're looking at the issues that are created and the lack of busing and things like that? So I'm just wondering if you have contacted the school board, if you shared your data, your concerns with the trustees so that they may be able to partner with us as a city on working on this issue together.
Hello. I could answer a part of that, and that's that as my partner Joshua had mentioned, this is an idea that had been repeatedly proposed by co-presidents who had promised to do the plan of action that you mentioned, which would be to talk to the school board to try and alleviate the traffic pressures on Sterling Avenue. But while this has been promised for years and years on end, and I have friends who have been in the school for a long time, this is a very consistent promise made by these presidents. It's a pretty pertinent issue, as you can see. As we can see from the data, nothing too substantial has materialized, or at least not materialized to the point where it stopped being a threat to the students. And if you have anything to add to that, you can. I just wanted to throw that out there.
To your point, though, or to your question about whether this has been shared with the board, this opportunity came up first. We have not, in a formal setting, proposed this to the board, but we have involved staff in some of our early information gathering around what is happening on the site, why is it happening this way, why is the parking across the street. They could better answer the question why the IB program is at Cameron, but I would venture to guess that the centralized location makes it accessible to more students. And if we could hook into transit, then it will make it a very accessible space for most of the region from a distance. So I think we're just a few pieces off from having it be a very workable site and an ideal site for that program.
Okay, I just really want to strongly encourage you to bring this issue to the school board as well, because this is the school and you are their students, and your safety should be their prime concern, and they should be exploring all possible options to improve and increase that safety along with our staff. So, you know, I say we definitely want to do our part. Really appreciate you bringing this to light and all the work that you put into it. But I really think it's important for you to share that with the school board and be on the agenda for a school board meeting at some time too. I think they'd be very proud of their students and the efforts that you've put into this.
I think that's true.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. Councillor Deneau. Push it again.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you all, you young people, for coming in today. I wouldn't have been able to do this when I was your age, like a few years ago. So I appreciate everything you guys, the effort you've put in, you coming up with some data. I'd like to know how you got one of those radar guns, because I'd like to use that in a few spots. But in all seriousness, not everybody, not all students are going to use the island, and not all the students are going to, if it's a signalized crosswalk. So my question is, what do we do with those folks who don't? Where do we go from there? Because 100% of the students are not going to use that, or pedestrians. And so what do we do when they don't use that? And this is just a question to anybody.
Yeah, that's a really difficult question to answer. I think we don't do anything with people across the city who don't obey those, except if they're caught, except if there were a collision, then it would be that person's fault, not the driver's fault, and so on and so forth. This island, if it's placed where the paint currently is, would be right in the line. I can't imagine a student not really using it if it's going to offer them greater protection and an easier way to get across the street. So as long as the infrastructure that we're bringing in creates an easier way, they're going to use it. If it's safer, like you watch some of the students are not as, I don't know, aware or protective of their own bodies as others, I would say, but some hesitate a great deal before they make that crossing. And those are the students that will be benefiting the most, I suppose, in one way, but the ones who are a little more carefree are likely to use it too, just because it is safer and it feels safer.
Okay, and I guess the only reason I bring that up is, eventually, we as humans or adults or young people have to take accountability for our own actions. As Councillor Schneider had indicated, you can, I know it's 5 minutes out of your way, and I get it, time is of essence, but, eventually we have to be accountable for our actions as well as pedestrians. And I can tell you, in my ward, we did install a new cross POX last year. And yeah, a lot of people use it, but there's many people who don't, even if it's 20 or 30 yards down the road. And so, that's why I asked that question, because not everybody's going to use it, and you're still going to have people, who are putting themselves and motorists at risk. And so, I think it all comes down to own oneself accountability to make sure they're doing what's right. So,
I think what any infrastructure in this place is going to bring is some predictability. And currently, I think, though we saw some high speeds at times when kids were crossing, but there maybe not as many, and that's a danger of itself, right? Because when you're not expecting somebody, those high speeds are probably more dangerous. But in the congested periods, what we saw mostly was a lot of confusion. Some cars stopping to let students by, the other cars not stopping. Yeah. So then people don't know whether they're going or coming, and this island will give people a place to land in the middle of the street before they make that next move across the street. I think it's going to be used. Probably, like we saw a great concentration of students in that space because it's right between those two driveways, and that's where they're coming from and where they're going. But there were a few students that were dropped off down the street that might cross outside of that. If they cause a collision, they should be charged, right? Yeah. I don't know how else to state that, but to provide this, because we do see hundreds of students crossing twice a day, I feel like it's a protection that will be used and that is necessary. And to Olivia's point, we probably wouldn't ask adults to go to walk 5 minutes out of their way for the rest of their work life if their parking lot was right across the street from their workplace.
It's fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Chair Johnson, and I want to thank the 7 delegations that spoke today, our former crossing guard and your perspectives. Certainly appreciate that. Ms. Maxwell, you obviously bring a lot of expertise as a staff person whose role is primarily to advocate for these things. But most importantly, I want to give really just a shout out to the 5 students. The 5 of you did a great job today of articulating your issues and concerns and some of the challenges that the student body is facing. I remember many years ago, a group of students like you coming to council to advocate for a streetlight to be put back on Weber Street in front of Eastwood Collegiate. And it was there, and then it was taken out because students weren't using it. And then they promised to use it, and I have to say, because I drive by there most days on my way to the office, they're actually pretty good at using it, 95% of the time now. So they've kept their word. But I think there are a number of potential solutions here, and that staff have already looked at, and we'll hear more about that shortly. But it reminds me back to grade 8 when I took on the school board on an issue, which was sort of, I guess, my start to politics. So kudos to you, and who knows, maybe one day one or more of you will be sitting around this horseshoe. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your comments. Councillor Chapman, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted clarification on a couple of things, and maybe Leslie, you're the best one to respond to this. Is this the only school with an IB program
Yes,
in the region?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And how long has it been at Cameron Heights?
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that question. Does anybody know how long it's been there? As long as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know. And am I correct in saying that if you're in French immersion and there's no French immersion in the school right next to in your catchment area, then you're responsible for getting your kids to the school that you choose to send them to?
Yeah, and to that point, it's largely because we have, like, when families choose a specialized program like that, and especially French immersion, they can choose to go to any school in the region. So we could have somebody who lives in South Cambridge who works in Waterloo and takes their student to Waterloo, and like we wouldn't, this is me talking from STSWR busing, that would be an impossible demand to keep up. So the board's policy is that we do not bus those students who are out of their homeschool catchment who choose to attend specialized programs.
Right, well, and I can understand why, right?
Yeah.
It would create chaos. Okay, well, thank you for that. Just a question for Adrielle. Beyond speed, what other issues have students had to deal with in crossing the street in that area? Like, do you have data, did you collect data on that as well?
Yes, so at that crossing, there are many, because there are so many cars and a lot of students that are also crossing that way, there are many cars that are opening windows, honking, and it really distracts students as well when they're crossing because they want to focus on getting to Cameron safely. So they don't want to be worried about, oh, there are people honking at me, or there are people mad, or people are, like, cars are stopping really close by to them instead of stopping a little bit further by to let them cross. So that's why we also want to implement either a crosswalk or island there for students to be able to have that safety to be able to cross to Cameron without worrying about cars honking or cars not stopping in time, especially in that busy road. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just one more question for Leslie. Sorry. How long have you been aware of the concerns at this crossing?
I think the first time a student came to me with the problem was 3 or 4 years ago, and we've had it maybe twice.
Okay.
One more time since this year.
Right.
That it came to my attention. But when I've talked to the VPs there, they say that it comes up every year.
Yeah. Okay. And again, I like others have said, I really want to thank you for the work that you've done on this, and the students for the amazing job. I mean, the data you collected is very helpful and useful for us, and I'd like some of my first-year university students to do presentations like that. You were wonderful, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Councillor Michaud, you're up next. Is this a question for students? Okay, go ahead.
I first want to comment on the great presentation that you've done. You've put a lot of work into this, and it reminds me of what another high school did in the city, which is pretty much the same thing. Did you reach out to any other high schools with these issues, that maybe have a similar issue, had?
Josh, maybe you know that. Sure. Okay.
No, we haven't reached out to any other schools because we believe that this was just an issue that occurred in our school, though we did see that in other places there is some solutions to their transportation needs. Like I believe in St. Mary's, they have a crossing guard, which is a special case, but we did use those other schools as sort of our inspiration for this initiative that, hopefully we'll also get a solution to our.
Thank you. Your presentation is very reminiscent of high school that I went to, and I think Councillor Schneider can relate to this. We went to Eastwood Collegiate, and there was no crossing guard, crosswalk right across the street that would take you over to the Schwaben Club and to the bus stop. And we were asked to walk down Weber Street, about a 5-minute walk and all the way up, and no one did. And in 1995, the lights went in across that street. So I really commend you for doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Stretch, is questions for the students, or go ahead?
Yep. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to loop back around and just encourage and echo what Councillor Schneider is saying about going to the school board trustees. I know one of the school board trustees is Mino Asim, who is a past president of Cameron Heights, so I'm sure you would be able to make a connection there around this issue. Just going forward, I think in delegating there, students do have a responsibility to get to school on time, and it's their responsibility and their parents' responsibility to manage their time. So I think going forward, it is a stressful time for everyone, but that's part of growing up and hitting deadlines and making that. So I think one of your stronger arguments really is about the safety, and I'm really happy to support sort of what I've seen in staff's report for this area. But as far as an extra piece of support, like infrastructure at this time, I'm willing to wait and see how this new piece works before making another decision and before hearing back from you after going to your school board trustees. And then, also just to offer your graphs were great. Some questions, I guess, to kind of go back with. The traffic that you're seeing on Sterling, is that school traffic? So is that traffic using parking lot number 1? And so is that traffic created by the school, not just, maybe, commuter traffic, pardon? Yeah, sorry, yeah. And then, of the 200 people that you saw using during those times, that really looks like only 10% of your school population using that crosswalk. So, keeping that in mind, that's not a huge number. And I'd love to see you keep advocating within your school with different clubs, connecting with different advocacy groups to keep that education top of mind for students who do choose to use that crossing guard. Yes.
So I'd like to add that not only students utilize this crossing between Sterling and the parking lot, we also have a shelter in front of our school. So many people come into the shelter to get food and other stuff, and they cross back towards the Thrift on Kent parking lot. Furthermore, the traffic which we see on Sterling, it's not only cars who are coming in to drop off their children, but also other people who are going to work or to other places within the city. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I realize it's a shared road. I'm just curious about those times of day usage, as I'm sure it's higher around school times. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Just a comment. When I heard the VPs said this is something that happens every year, I'm absolutely shocked that no one has made any move to connect with the school board and have the school board connect with us. To me, that's unacceptable. So just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, go ahead.
I believe that staff has been in touch with your staff every year. So I think that things have come forward, they just haven't come to this level, and students were not necessarily always involved in the efforts.
No, I'm not saying these students. I'm just saying this is shocking to me. It's a shared responsibility. The school board has to step up here. They have to do their part. These are their students. Their student safety should be their concern, and they should be working with our staff and pushing this issue with our staff. So I'm just, I'm very protective of our staff and the great work they do. So this isn't just bring it to the city and we fix it. The school board also has to come up with issues. Could staggered start and dismissal times help out here? Are there other ways to help out? Let's explore everything to make it as safe as possible for these students.
Yeah, because of the class schedule, the staggered entry and exit is very difficult, especially with free-range
I understand that, but I hear if the
So-
school board always says, this is difficult, this is challenging, it's challenging for us as well. So let's all work together on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really heartening to see the pedestrian island be suggested. I think it's an elegant solution. And as to Councillor Stretch's point, it's step one, let's see if it works. And as far as moving the parking or changing the staff schedule or the school schedule, those parts are sometimes union, limited, sometimes just the family schedule limited. They are limited by after-school jobs and teams and all kinds of stuff. But this is step one. Let's see if it works. And we will go back to the board to share with them what we've done here and to share any further limitations that we still see. I fully trust your staff. They've done fantastic work, and I'm really excited to see what solutions this will offer.
Yeah, great. I just want to see the school board involved and be a partner in this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And me too.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. I don't see any other questions, though I did want to ask a couple myself, and my question would be for Olivia and for Mrs. Jeske, if at all possible. I want to come back down here. And I'll preface this question by saying that I live behind a school. And twice a day, my road is inundated with traffic from parents dropping their kids off and picking them up in the afternoon. I'm wondering if in your observations, Olivia and Mrs. Jeske, do you see that, is the problem with after people drop their kids off, that they're taking off quickly? Is it more all of the traffic on the road? Do you see kind of any things in particular happening with your stats whenever you're observing?
The traffic is always fast, always, no matter dropping off, picking up, whatever. One of the points I was going to say was, it's confusion because there's nowhere to know it's two lanes and a turning lane, right? Yeah, 2 lanes and a turn lane. So if somebody's trying to turn into Cameron, like a staff member, and then you got somebody racing up this way, and then somebody trying to turn into the parking lot, and then this one's trying to go around, it's chaos. It's total chaos.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I see.
Go ahead, Olivia.
I feel like as well, everybody, there's something different every day that you kind of hear about. And I know that one really bad instance of just how the sheer amount of traffic there was one time an emergency vehicle was trying to get through Sterling and they just couldn't because of the vast amount of traffic that was there. And so I feel like that just really shows how much traffic there is. So yes, I think that it is also confusion as well, and she can definitely attest to that, and how there's lack of clarity. And so even having clear signs or just means of seeing where you can drop off and where everybody's accountable, including people pulling out and parents and students crossing for their safety. So yeah.
Olivia, do you know if there's any parental education that's done here? Is there any, are people told where to drop their kids off? Are they told don't do it on Sterling, etc.? Do you know if that's happening?
There are definitely areas that people have been told don't drop your kids off here, and I feel like people have been contacted, parents, and at parent council meetings. I know from my mom's experience that they are always talking about where to park and drop off, and so it's always something that's been on their minds. And I know that this issue has also been brought up with parent council, so I feel like everybody at Cameron, including the parents, are very involved. And I feel like some parents may just kind of shed a blind eye or just kind of forget in the moment because it is very hectic and there's so much aggressiveness going on around that it is hard, but I feel like everybody's aware and yeah.
Well, thank you, because I would think that parental behavior is part of this. So that also goes back to the school board and their education, as Councillor Schneider was talking about. If you're concerned about your kids' safety crossing this road, don't be dropping them off on Sterling, would certainly be the message that I'm sure Ms. Maxwell is going to tell me that they are getting, correct?
Well, yeah, we do use the Drive to 5 map to show them good places to park, but it's really the VP who was here earlier who could speak better to that, how often those messages go out. But I'm sure they've gone out over the last, I know that I made that map 3 years ago, so they've gone out over the last 3 years. I guess it would be just as difficult to train adults, I would just say. Like, it's not a matter of training. It is a desire path. There's enough little gaps and the cars stop, so people take their chances, but it becomes more and more dangerous. So grateful that the city's watching now.
Thank you. And one last thing as a wrap up with all of you. From what I heard you say is that you did this as something that was a personal interest for you. You didn't get marked on this. You're not getting anything special from it. So just a huge, huge thank you. And to our staff team, wow, we might have some future transportation folks that we might want to hire in the future. So thank you all. And we'll now move on to questions of staff. And Councillor Michaud, so you can go sit down if you would like to. Thank you. Or you can leave. That's up to you. Councillor Michaud, please go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Thanks so much. So an island that they're considered putting in there in that area, it's really chaotic at that time of day, and actually throughout the whole day. I've driven down that street a number of times. I'm sure you have done all the studies that you do in every area. Would you not think a traffic light would be, or a crosswalk, a button crosswalk would be less, actually more safe than an island in the middle of all that chaos? There you go.
Are we good? There we go. So through the chair, in terms of pedestrian crossover in this location, you saw the stats from the students. It would technically meet based on volume and the number of pedestrians that are crossing, at least during that school time. However, PXOs wouldn't be warranted based on the proximity to the signalized intersection. So the Ontario Traffic Manual indicates a minimum distance away from the nearest protected crossing, and that's 200 meters. This is less than 150. So generally speaking, that's why it wouldn't meet warrant. Further, because it's driven by school traffic, one of the other things that the Ontario Traffic Manual really highlights is the appropriate use of the appropriate control. And when we're talking about school traffic, the appropriate control to control pedestrian traffic is actually a school crossing guard. Generally speaking, we haven't installed school crossing guards for high schools, generally speaking, because we know that we've had challenges when we've done that in the past in terms of adherence to the crossing guard and waiting for the appropriate gap. So having a PXO here in this location, I think, when you don't have that consistent pedestrian volume throughout the day, you actually add confusion. And so what I would be worried or concerned with is not necessarily the time when it's the peak operation for the school, but if it were to be used outside of those hours, when generally speaking there wouldn't be that pedestrian volume, that's where we have higher rates of speed, and that's where there's a heightened concern for pedestrian safety. So it's not during that school hour, but outside of the school hours that PXO would be of more concern for me.
Okay, I'll go back to Eastwood Collegiate, that area where that light is. is it then maybe 200 meters then from Montgomery to where the light is?
Through the chair, I believe it's a little bit greater. I mean, we could do the measurement,
all right.
but when we're talking about a traffic light, an intermittent pedestrian signal, IPS, that's what's at Cameron, we would need regional approval to do that. This wouldn't meet minimum thresholds, so I think it would be difficult to get a warrant here for the
Do you mean
the
minimum
installation of signal.
thresholds for traffic or pedestrians, or both?
For the distance. So there's when you're talking about, again, I mentioned distance earlier, that applies to that IPS warrant as well.
It's too bad. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Davey.
Thank you for this report. Just a question, can you remind me if I'm not sure if it's just how it was written, but is there a difference between speed humps and speed cushions, and if so, what is that difference?
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, there's a difference. We call speed cushions our emergency response friendly option. So speed cushions are split into two separate raised measures with flex posts located between them, and that gives emergency services the option to drive between those two separated raised measures down the middle of the road. That differs from a speed hump, which is a continuous raised measure from gutter to gutter. It does not have that gap between the two measures.
So are speed cushions seasonal?
Through you, Chair, no. The speed cushions are in year-round, and the flex stakes stay in year-round where we have speed cushions.
Okay, and the reason I ask is I'm looking at the financial part of it, and I don't see any operating impact, but I guess my question is, I went through and I counted, and there's about 30 or so that are proposed this year total. And I guess I would ask, maybe it's a question for Ms. McGoldrick, but I'm wondering if there's going to be any other adverse operating impacts with respect to snow, like snow plow usage, that sort of thing. If we're expected to see a number like this being implemented annually, I'm just curious what that impact could be on our snow operations.
Through you, Chair, in terms of annual operating costs for speed cushions, because we're not removing and reinstalling those flex stakes each year where we have those speed cushions, they are I should note, also the narrower flex stake. It's not the wide flex stake that we use more commonly for our seasonal traffic calming program. We don't see the same level of operating pressure, if you will. Those stay in year-round.
Okay, and again, for the snowplow question, if we're seeing something like 30 of these be added every year going forward, at what point will this impact our ability to clear snow effectively, or will it? If you don't really answer that question, staff can follow up with an email.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so through the chair, we would need to take a look at the road cross-sections to provide a better response to your question, Councillor Davey. But certainly in terms of the scale, we're not anticipating any significant operational impacts, but we can, certainly when we have a more challenging snow year like this year, any constraints within the right-of-way, there is an operational impact, but this is fairly nominal.
Okay, thank you. I'm prepared to move the recommendation and have a brief comment as well at the appropriate time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Please go ahead, Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. So we're not proposing speed cushions here, are you? You?
So through the chair, the report that you have in front of you is the Vision Zero report for 2025. So yes, there are speed humps and speed cushions within that report.
But for this particular location, we're proposing an island, is that correct?
All of the locations within the report can be discussed as it's one report. There are no speed humps or speed cushions for Sterling Avenue.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to get clarification on that. Can you just describe the type of signage and road markings that will accompany the island itself?
Certainly. So through the chair.
It's on Sterling, sorry.
Yeah, through the chair, it'll be your traditional pedestrian refuge island, which will have signs on the island itself. There are no lines on the roadway, and the reason that we don't do that is because when you paint on the road, it looks like a crossing.
and then you create additional confusion in terms of people stopping to let students, and we heard the students say this, some people stopping to let students cross while others don't. The reality is, unless there's additional form of control, the vehicle has the right of way, and so we do whatever we can to limit that impact.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Councillor Davey.
Just comment?
Oh, comment. And Councillor Michaud, you have a comment as well. Can I come back to you then? For sure. Okay, thank you. I actually have a question first for staff. Can you please reiterate the traffic volumes that are on Sterling outside of school drop-off and pickup time, please?
Through you, Chair, we see approximately 5,000 to 6,000 daily vehicle trips per day on Sterling Ave.
Okay. And do we have any kind of data for other people crossing at other times at that location outside of school drop-off and pickup?
To you, Chair, no, we do not.
I'm sorry?
No, we do not have that data.
Okay. You know, it won't be a statistical question, but do you think it will be used outside of those times?
To you, Chair, it's tough to say without the data, but looking at the pedestrian generators in that area, the school is the primary generator. That parking lot does have access off of other roads, including Kent and Charles. So anecdotally, I would say there aren't major volumes of pedestrians crossing there in the summer months or through the day, but that's anecdotal.
Have we ever asked the school board, any of the school boards, to help pay for any traffic infrastructure whenever it's more obvious that it is being used by schools?
Through the chair, there is one instance that I can think of that was rather unique on Huron Road at Templewood, so that would be related to the Huron Heights Secondary School, where the school board did contribute to that facility. In this instance, it's not about the contribution of funds towards additional control, but rather whether or not it's warranted.
Has staff ever gone and made a presentation to the school board asking for any financial help with something like this?
Through the chair, the short answer would be no.
Okay. I think Councillor Schneider might offer to go and do that as well. Thank you. We'll now move on to comments then. And oh, you have a question? Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair. I like the fact that we are increasing our in-road signs and the seasonal narrowings for this year. Just wondering, for the upcoming budget, what are the challenges of further increasing that in future years in terms of what it costs for, it takes a lot of time for staff to install and then uninstall them at the end of the season. So some of the budget challenges that might come with that.
So through the chair, when we talk about seasonal measures, it's exactly that. It's an operational pressure for the INS Roads and Traffic team in terms of installation and removal. It takes a lot of their time and it takes a lot of staff power to be able to do that. And so we have a very, very robust seasonal program that I wouldn't recommend growing at this time given the operational challenges and constraints that we already face.
Okay. It'd be great to maybe have some further discussions offline about that, because I really feel this is a very helpful traffic calming measure. And I know when we have our seasonal traffic calming discussions per ward, which I absolutely love and love the data that you provide, you always wish, if I could just have one or two or three more. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. And moving on to comments, Councillor Michaud.
Thank you. I just want to commend staff for the tremendous body of work that you've done since 2019 or 2018 probably. I look at the numbers and everything's going down, like the motorist collisions, it's going in the right direction. And I do have to add that this year you've made a lot of residents in Ward 4 very happy. So, and I drive out in Dune South and the areas that we've got the speed cushions in over the years. It makes a big difference. So I want to thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. My sentiment's the same. I remember a long time ago we handled this very differently. There was some data in it, but it was much more political and it was more, to be frank, squeaky wheel driven than it is today. And the results are here. I mean, we used to do far fewer streets than we do today. I counted 16 measures that we're going to be implementing, whereas in the past, I recall it was far, far fewer. And again, it's all data driven. We don't spend as much time, to be frank, asking non-professionals their opinion. We get the professionals to move in. They do what needs to be done. We move along. It's more efficient, not only in terms of time, but also in the cost that we have. So while we had a number of delegations on one specific item, again, I did want to point out that there are 16 different measures that are being implemented here if presuming it gets approved. And again, school zones are always a concern, and of those 16, 5 of those are in school zones as well. So we have a great track record going backwards in terms of injuries and fatalities, and I think it's only going to get even more safe going forward. So good work.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to point out that of the measures that are being proposed here, yes, 5 of them are in school zones, so I'm very pleased to see that. I mean, clearly, staff sees a need to make sure that our students are safe, and I want to thank again the students and Leslie and the staff at Cameron Heights for putting the work into this. I mean, it was totally a student-led initiative, and although I did a couple site visits with the previous principal and vice principal, who were very concerned with what was happening there. I know it's not the only location that's coming to us in this report, but maybe it will encourage other students in other schools to do their own research and advocate for themselves. So thank you very much to staff for this report.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. And I'm very happy to support the recommendation. I mean, it's rather impressive on how this is the second year that I keep seeing the data points picking out the spots that are actually causing problems, in particular in the ward that I represent. I don't think there's any coincidence. So this is a great program, as Councillor Davey had mentioned, as well, all the other benefits. So I'm really impressed with the work that this program is and how it's been implemented and how it's improving our community as a safety overall. I just want to touch upon one other things with regards to the Cameron Heights issue, and then with Ms. Maxwell. Just I know, I guess it was about 14 years ago or whatever, 13 years ago, when I pushed for a better collaboration among our community partners and stakeholders, and just wondering when was the last time we actually had some actual feedback on how the program is going and how everything is, whether or not we are working together as cohesively as it is, because I know it's been roughly about some time. So I think it'd be really good to, maybe go through that process again and maybe reevaluate how things are working together with the school boards and with the region and everything else.
Did you want to comment on that, Ms. Maxwell? We'd be happy to, sure. Come on, Dan. Yeah, thank you.
Just want to note that there is an annual report produced every year, and we can share that with council so that you can take a look at what we've done. And absolutely welcome a thorough review as needed. Thanks.
Thank you. And staff, did you want to comment on that as well, or? You're good.
Through the chair, I think it's probably worth the discussion at this point in terms of not revisiting the program, but just making sure that all of our priorities are still in alignment.
Okay, moving on to Mr. Mayor. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair Johnson. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank staff for all of their great work on this. I know this has been an area that has been a priority for council for some time, and trying to find ways of addressing the various issues and concerns that I know many of you talk to staff and myself and others about as you hear about them from residents in your ward. And so, you know, taking the Vision Zero approach was something that was a priority for us as a council, but was also an opportunity to connect with a branding that exists in municipalities across North America, which has been good because as people, you know, see media or travel in other places and hear it, it also sort of reminds them of what's happening in our community, as opposed to trying to sort of create our own brand around this. And you know, seeing the variety of projects that's on the list for this year to continue to build on the work that's been done in the past together with our partners is great. So just want to acknowledge the team for the great work that they're doing. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you again, Chair Johnson. Again, thank you for this report, and thank you for the solid data collection that you base everything on. I know it takes a lot of work, but it's amazing to see the data before and after these changes have been made. Your experience in determining where the hotspot location should be, your response to council's concerns, you can clearly see it in this, and I just really appreciate the focus on this. I've received great comments from the work that was done on Conway Avenue with now the raised pedestrian. The sidewalk is at the same level all the way across, and that also helps slow traffic down going into the street and the neighborhood. So it's things like this that I think are so innovative and so appreciated. I thank you for that, and I'm really happy to see the crossover coming on East Avenue in front of the auditorium. When you leave events there, it's great. Thank you for arranging Waterloo Regional Police to be there for safe crossings, but this will make it great every time people go to an event at the Odd. So thank you for that. Great, solid work. Deeply appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. And I'm just going to make a few comments myself. I have to let Aaron and Connor know that one of my favorite meetings every year is my traffic consultation with the two of you. You come with great data. You think about things that I hadn't thought to ask about before. You take into account the concerns that I raised with you that I've heard from residents, and you also take that big picture view of looking at the data that you have and deciding where some things need to happen and explaining that to us. So I absolutely appreciate the work that you do. I know our neighborhoods do as well. And I mean, unfortunately, we need to be putting in more, infrastructure for traffic calming, but I really appreciate your dedicated approach to what you do. You have a terrific team. You know where to hire some more people too. So thank you so much for all that you do. And on that, we have a mover. Councillor Davey has moved it. A seconder, please. Councillor Stretch. All those in favor? And now we'll go to Councillor Ioannidis. If you could please key in. Or I guess we have.
I'm in favor.
In favor? Okay. And Councillor Obadani.
I'm in favor as well.
Okay. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. And next we are done. Sorry, did I miss a page? I missed a page, didn't I? Yes, I did. I got everybody really excited there, though. Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, okay, sorry. Next, we're moving on to our fireworks bylaw review. I was wondering where that page had gone. Okay, and we have up Helen Filacto, our Manager of Enforcement, will provide a 5-minute presentation. Thank you. And please go ahead.
Council, we are here today to present our review on the firework bylaw and to discuss the work we have been doing with our regional partners. In response to resident concerns, emerging trends, and staff and public safety, Council passed a motion for staff to review our firework bylaw in September 2024 with a request to report back by April of this year. We are here today to discuss our findings and to put forward a recommendation that has been supported by our regional partners. The motion asks staff to consult with cities that have bans or further restrictions such as Vancouver, West Vancouver, Brampton, Woodstock, and Milton, with the goal to gather feedback, to work with regional partners, and lastly, to look at the feasibility for city-run firework events and options for alternative celebration. We met with 6 municipalities that have implemented full bans on both the sales and the setting off of fireworks. The motivations are consistent with concerns around public safety, nuisance complaints, environmental risks, impact to people with PTSD, and impact to animals. All the reports that have reported that they have seen reductions in firework complaints following regulatory changes. Brampton, Caledon, and Milton attributed success to increased education, higher fines, and strong partnerships with enforcement agencies. Vancouver and West Vancouver complaints dropped significantly over time. However, they did indicate that it takes more than 1 year to see the change. Woodstock, the most recent to ban fireworks, saw complaints go from 50 to just 1, highlighting that restricting sales and public education are key. The 3 cities and the 4 townships have been meeting monthly to discuss any insights, concerns, and to align our approach. Our areas of alignment have been education and public messaging, making our bylaws similar across the region, making it easier for community members to understand, to discuss issues, which overall there were consensus on the issues being faced within the cities, with the townships facing less or different issues, but agree that alignment is important, in updating our bylaws to ban against the sale of fireworks, to update the number of days to set off just to the day permitted on the permitted holiday, which Kitchener is already doing, reducing the number of hours that fireworks are permitted to be set off, for example, from 9 to 11 versus by 11, and to increase our AMP or set fine penalty amounts. Areas we could not align was the actual holidays that are permitted in the bylaw. No one felt their council would want to either add or remove days on the permitted number of holidays, and for a full ban, where most did not feel that there would be support for a full ban on both the sales and the setting off of fireworks, but felt a middle ground and more restrictive could be supported. Currently, our special events team only hosts a firework event on Canada Day. The feedback from the event has mainly been positive, with minimum concerns over the years that are often addressed through the annual planning process. Often fireworks are not just the event itself, but are part of a larger event such as a concert or having vendors. Each additional event would cost $600,000 or more for the firework or drones, staffing, and other associated costs. Staff explore drone shows as a fire-safe alternative, but challenges including malfunction risks, regulatory hurdles, high costs, and the need for many more drones to match the firework impact was considered. There is also an existing permit process for cultural groups or private entities to host events, which is regulated through our bylaw and ensures safety through our fire department oversight. Our findings showed that the public survey we did across the region had 4,000 responses, with 1,900 of those were for Kitchener specifically. Although the survey is not statistically accurate, nor do we require a registration, there are several safeguards we put in place to ensure we obtained quality data. For example, comparing the answered questions within the same time frame, and there were only 21 additional responses submitted within an hour. The comments through the survey ranged from people recognizing it's a way to celebrate occasions and to bring community together to concerns around safety, misuse, and distress to animals. We completed a municipal scan as part of the review and compared Kitchener's existing firework bylaw to those 17 other municipalities and found that Kitchener landed on a more restrictive side. The regional working group also met with a member of the Canadian National Firework Association to gain insight on their perspective. They expressed no support on the ban on sales or setting off fireworks, believing it is an ineffective tool, while also indicating a willingness to support clearer regulations and more education. And finally, staff worked with our regional counterparts to align our regulations. Staff is here today looking for council to support our recommendations outlined in the report of updating the bylaw to add start times to fireworks, to ban the sale of fireworks starting in 2026, and to increase our AMPS fines. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll move on to, I should point out that we have a written submission from the Canadian National Fireworks Association, so that was in council's notes. And we'll go ahead and start with council questions. Councillor Ioannidis, you are up.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Just, and I think the report's rather interesting. And so I guess what my first question would be with regards to hosting, when the city's hosting events, did I hear it correctly when you said it was roughly around $600,000 to have an event?
Go ahead, Mr. Reedman.
Through the chair, and so that would be the total cost of adding all of the programs for the summer, and so the estimate is about $200,000 per event.
Okay, that's significant. And I guess my last question would be with regards to how did and great work by Helen and staff. How did we get about getting this conversation going with the other municipalities?
Go ahead.
Through the chair, as part of the motion that was put in place, we were requested to look at our regional counterparts to have that discussion. So starting in October of last year, Ms. McNeil reached out to the counterparts and we developed a regional working group.
Okay, that's good. So it was something that was driven by our staff.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, excellent. Chair Johnson, when the time's appropriate, I'm prepared to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Michelle.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I want to thank you for all the work that you've done for this. This is a great body of work, and it certainly is helpful for us to come to some kind of a solution for this issue that we have. And the recommendation for option 2, you mentioned enhanced enforcement. Can you elaborate on that a bit, please?
Through the chair, I think, so what we had in mind for enhanced enforcement was increased fines, which we have done. We also began last year where We looked at previous history of hotspots or high volume of complaints, and we had staff proactively in those targeted areas. So we were out there proactively looking for people setting off fireworks, trying to educate those before they lit them off. So I think the increased fines and the continuation of having an increased amount of staff in problematic locations is what we had in mind for increased enforcement.
Okay, I think the fines are great. That's certainly a move in the right direction. I don't see any mention of the regional police support in this. Is there any, I mean, they have auxiliary police, don't they? They have other methods that they could perhaps help the city or the region and the townships when these issues arise. Because honestly, I understand that you enhance enforcement. You can't be everywhere at once. And I think from what I hear from constituents in my ward, when they phone the 741 line, it's just jammed. They can't get through to anybody, and it's quite chaotic in some nights there. So I'm concerned that this isn't going to be enough. I mean, it is something, and I certainly appreciate it, but I'm hoping that we can get a little bit more meat on the bones for this, if we can, so to speak.
Through the chair, that's certainly a conversation that we can raise with police. We haven't to date. And I know in regards to their officers, I mean, their calls for service are quite high during these peak times as well. So I don't believe that fireworks would be a priority call for them, but we certainly can explore the option of seeing whether or not that they would be willing to have auxiliary police on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Obadani.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Can you hear me at all? I just want to confirm, first of all.
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. I just want to thank you very much, staff, for this report. Would love to just get an idea of, I don't know if you can answer this, but what would you say has been the feedback from the other cities and towns within the area that you're having conversations with? Do they have, do you know where they're leaning more towards in terms of the recommendations that you have here for us?
Through the chair, through the regional working group, we will all be going forward with the same recommendation to our council. As part of the discussions, the reason we landed more on a middle ground was because that's where we thought consensus would be reached, with support, with some of the townships not believing that there would be support for a ban. But for the municipalities, Cambridge and City of Waterloo, they were having some of the same concerns that City of Kitchener was having during these events.
Okay, thank you. Now, some of the reports and the complaints that I've received over the past few years, there's this repeated theme around people that just flat out violate. They know the rules, they know they're supposed to stop at a certain time period, and they just don't do it, and that is a concern for me. For me, it's, okay, there's one thing of creating these laws and these limits, but there's another thing when people are flat out not even listening or paying attention or obeying those laws as well. So would love your thoughts around, if we do decide to go with the recommended option number 2, how do that can reduce those behaviors where people just flat out know what the rules are, but are not listening to it?
Through the chairs, so staff would go through a multifaceted approach. So our first approach being more public education. So this year we did the most public education that we have done in previous years, but we would continue with that, which is outreaching some of our community partners, such as some of the post-secondary institutes, cultural groups. We did our community centers. We did both flyers, information. We had them translated into multi-languages across the region. So we would start with public education, and then I think with the addition of the enforcement measures, such as the increased fines, to try and to try and dissuade people from doing that and eliminating easy access to fireworks by banning the sales within the region. That would hopefully reduce the number of fireworks that are in our community.
I think we've lost Councillor Obadani, so thank you. Moving on to Councillor Chapman.
Thank you. I had a couple questions. First of all, thanks for the report. The report refers to, drone malfunctions and safety. And I guess, when I think of safety, I think of fireworks to be far more problematic than drones, first of all. And as far as the malfunctioning of the drones, do you have any data that was used to highlight that as a concern?
Through the chair. So we've been advised by RISC that is a potential security concern. It is something that we would continue to explore as we look, as we continue to program Canada Day and other events, but it is just something we were flagging for council to be aware of.
Okay, thank you. And as far as drones versus fireworks, one of the main concerns that is being brought to my attention anyway is to do with climate change. And so do you see us moving in a direction of only having drone or light shows of sorts rather than permitting fireworks?
Through the chair, and so fireworks are only one component of our Canada Day celebration. We host a number of other components related to that, including live music and other programming activities. And so we will continue to look at those other opportunities around the celebration around Canada Day, and staff will continue to explore what the future of the finale looks like.
Yeah, I guess my question is more drones versus fireworks. I mean, I realize there are other activities, and that's great. I think it's a great evening, but yeah.
Yeah, through the chair. So environmental concerns are one component. We do know with drone shows that the quantity is required to make the show look as exciting as a firework event, and so that's something that has to be balanced as the Canada Day celebrations move forward.
Okay, thank you. My last question has to do with, I don't remember what it was. I forget my last question. I might have to come back. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Councillor Janot.
Thank you, Chair Johnson, and thank you for the report. And so Waterloo and Cambridge are looking at the same kind of ban of the sale. Remind me, the townships, are they looking at the ban of the sale of fireworks, like kind of going along our lines of thinking?
Through the chair, all the municipalities and townships are looking at the same recommendations.
Okay, but there's no guarantees.
There's no guarantees.
Right. So I guess my question is, how, if we're still allowing people to set them off, how does that fix the issue? And the issue is, animals, people using them as weapons, as we've seen the last couple of years. And so this really doesn't solve that issue, because they're still going to be able to access them somewhere else, whether it's Hamilton or Guelph, and come back and use them how they want to. And so how does that fix the issue?
Through the chair, we were looking at trying to have the most balanced approach with where we felt we could align the most across the region. If only Kitchener went forward with just a straight ban and no other municipalities or townships were in support of that, we don't believe it would be effective for Kitchener as well. So we tried to find a middle ground where we limited the hours that it was permitted, increased the fines if people were outside of that, and then again limiting the access to the fireworks so that we can promote planning ahead and more of a educated approach to using fireworks.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. is something we could look at in the future of like selling individual permits to people who wish to set them off on their property. In my mind, that's a way to know who's actually setting them off. And if there are complaints at 50 King Street or whatever, you know they have a permit and you know there's now an issue with that specific location. Is that something that we could look at in the future? Or do you think that would be too costly on people power?
Through the chair, at this time, it's not something that we were considering to do private household permits. In discussions with some other municipalities that did go down that route to try that, it was not successful for them, and they found it was too onerous on staff to be able to stay on top of that process.
Okay. Are we worried about people if they're not able to buy them, and they're able to, like in the region, but they're able to buy them, let's say Guelph or Hamilton or the Reserve, are we worried about people making homemade fireworks in their properties? Because I did read that there was some concern from the Fireworks Association that could happen, or people bringing them in illegally across the border.
Through the chair, that concern was also raised with us when we met with the representative. So I reached out to municipalities that have the bans in effect, and they have not had any of those concerns in their community, and the reserves actually moved towards stopping the selling of the fireworks as well to limit them.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau. Going to Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much, Chair Johnson, and thanks to staff for the report. I recognize the report is something that Council requested, and there's been obviously a lot of good information in it, but I think certainly I have some questions and concerns as to where it's potentially going. I guess the first question I have has to do with the other communities that we've interviewed. There's a short list there in terms of communities that have banned fireworks, but I know in Ontario, for example, there's 444 communities. There's well over 2,000 across the country. I mean, we're obviously not going to go and survey all of them, but I mean, do we have a sense that it's a fairly small number that have taken this step, or is it much broader, and these are simply the ones that we've included in the report?
Through the chair, at this time, we only looked at the ones that were listed as part of the motion for us to reach out to, and then the 17 other municipalities we compared to, only a small number of those, which were part of the original motion, had actual bans. So I think holistically across Ontario, it's probably a smaller number that have banned them.
So this would be a significant jump for us in comparison to those other areas?
This would be, yes, it would be.
Okay. When we look at things like the proposed ban in terms of purchasing, I think about our geography, and if assuming the others in the region come on board, I think obviously that'll mean that we won't be able to buy it in Elmira, we won't be able to buy it in Breslau as an example. But I just go a little bit farther down Highway 7 in terms of Breslau, and I get to Wellington County, and I think of Wellington County because it used to have restaurants that in the early days of a smoking ban where everyone from Waterloo Region went to smoke when they had restaurants, including my late mother. And so I asked that question because, I mean, is that coupled with how much trade happens, with online and so on, the reality is that won't people just be able to still get them fairly easily?
Through the chair, yes, people will still be able to obtain fireworks if they go outside of the region or online. However, the idea is to take away the impulse purchase when you're filling up your vehicle and you see fireworks and you just grab some, and to make it a little bit more difficult for the youth to obtain fireworks that we have had some issues with previously setting off in our parks. And this is more about if you're going to go outside of the region, you're planning to go outside of the region to purchase those fireworks, or allowing yourself time for them to be delivered to you. You have to be 18 years of age or have a credit card to be able to purchase them online and to be able to sign for them upon delivery.
Okay. The next question, I guess, that I have is, I mean, one of the issues that we've heard about has been around the size and the scope of fireworks and how that's changed from, the burning schoolhouse and things that we saw when I was young in terms of fireworks. Have we thought about actually, instead of banning, advocating for actually changing it back down to the burning schoolhouse, and I forget what some of the other ones were called back in the day. And I guess specifically, what's included, like, are sparklers banned as part of this, as an example? And if they are, like, I think of, kids who have, quite frankly, used sparklers for birthdays and all sorts of things for many decades. And is that going to be banned?
Through the chair, sparklers are exempt from the bylaw, so they can still use them for their birthdays. We haven't looked at the idea of asking provincially or federally about restricting the type of fireworks that are being sold in the community to specific types. I also don't know what the impact on that would be for staff that's looking into to ensure that it's only a specific type of firework that is being sold.
Okay, I have some additional questions. I'll cue back in. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Stretch.
Thank you. I was just wondering, how did you get to the 9 p.m. start date for Canada Day and the May long weekend, and then an earlier start date for?
Through the chair, we did an earlier start date for Diwali just because it gets darker in the fall, which is typically when Diwali falls, and the sun sets a little bit later for Victoria Day and Canada Day weekend, which is why we started at 9 p.m.
Okay, thank you. And to echo Mr. Mayor's comments, so the burning schoolhouse, just to give me an idea, is that still considered a firework? When is a firework, I guess?
Through the chair, so we would define the firework through our bylaw, which would be through working with our fire department, just through the Explosive Act, just to define it as consumer fireworks, display fireworks, flame effects. And I think where we would have a full ban on the use is firecrackers, which is more of the cherry bombs, those type are the ones that are...
The ones you throw.
That's right.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Thanks for all the work you put into this report. It's very thorough. One of the issues I feel is the most difficult is the enforcement aspect of it. A lot of let's face it, most of the people that use fireworks use it respectfully within the time limits. It's just those that go beyond that are causing the issues. And it's difficult. By the time a complaint is phoned in and the response to get there, the fireworks display can be over. And that's not on you at all. I mean, you're doing the very best you can. I'm just wondering the legality of using your phone, taking a picture, taking a video. Because when you do that, it shows the date and the time that the image was taken. And there's probably legal challenges to that. We need to know who was actually setting them off. So is that a possibility to be able to use that as a form of enforcement?
Through the chair, in order to be able to use that sort of evidence in court, we would need the individual who actually captured the video to be willing to provide us with a witness statement and to be a witness in court. So they would have to be able to identify the person and testify to the evidence that they've put forward. So we do utilize that sort of evidence for charges. Not necessarily in every case. It would just depend on what's been collected and whether it was something that we could actually legally use. But that would be something we would have to consider on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. And in the report, you provided some great information on the decrease in the number of complaints. And it was clear that it won't happen right away. It took a year for the decrease in the complaints to go down. But just want to make sure that we're clear that we'll never get rid of all the complaints and we'll never be able to deal with all the bad actors.
Through the chair, yes. So that is what we've heard, and we would suspect that if any approach we took here would take education and time to get that messaging out to people.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chair Schneider. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much. Just a couple more questions. And one sort of builds on something that Councillor O'Dooney was asking earlier, and really just connecting this with bad behavior. I mean, what we saw happen by a very small number of people in Victoria Park and so on, and in the downtown, where people were shooting fireworks at other human beings, at animals, and so on, is illegal. It's bad behavior. It's criminal, to be frank. And I guess I'm just trying to understand how this will stop it, or prevent that behavior. I think back to when we were growing up, when firecrackers were illegal, and yet all sorts of young people had them and put them in mailboxes and saw them, blow up and threw them at other people, and we saw, unfortunately, people get hurt in some instances, and so I'm just really trying to understand how we're going to solve that issue with this. I'm struggling to make that correlation.
Through the chair, so we're aware that we're not going to solve all the issues that are happening, but we do feel like we need to move forward with other restrictions because of some of the safety concerns that happen outside of just Victoria Park, but in street neighborhoods at McClellan Park and other parks across our city. And we feel that by adding that window, the increased fines from $300 to $1,000 for people that are misusing fireworks and making it more difficult for them to obtain the fireworks, we're hoping to just reduce the numbers and the number safety risks that we're seeing during these events.
Okay. The last question I have is, and I get it that these are different issues, but when we think about noise complaints, for example, in the city, and most of those are usually people playing music too loud or whatever, like how many roughly do we have a sense we would get in a year?
Through the chair, we receive roughly about 3,500 noise complaints a year.
Okay. And I figured it was a big number, and mind you, that works out to about 10 a day on average. And I'll leave the rest until my comments later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the drone topic. Waterloo does a drone show on Canada Day. Why did they go from fireworks to drones? Do you know, like in your conversations with them?
Through the chair, we're not sure of the decision. We were working more with City of Waterloo bylaw staff that enforces this and not their special events team around drones.
Right, so we don't know if by using drones rather than fireworks, the participation or the crowds were reduced, or we don't know if they had any malfunctioning drones, and we don't know, like there are a lot of unknowns, right?
In our discussions, they indicated that the attendance has decreased year over year for their drone shows. I don't know if that means they're considering anything differently, but that is what was indicated.
And do they do fireworks any night during the year? Or is this their only drone show and their only
I don't believe
celebration?
they do any other fireworks.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. I'm not seeing anyone else in the queue, so I'll ask my questions. I'm wondering if you can comment, please, on how you think this might, with the implementation of this, how do you think this might change the staffing needs on these dates? Sorry, there we go.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think the staffing needs will remain similar to what we did last year. So I believe last year we added 6 additional staff on for Victoria Day and Canada Day and Diwali. Canada Day with the events that happened in Victoria Park with the youth there. We did up staff even further to that. I think we had 20 staff on that night. So I think it'll be similar to what we've done, at least for now, until we see whether or not what we've done has a long-term effect and we see a decrease in the number of complaints, but also the activity that's taking place.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hoping that those numbers will go down. How long do you think it will take to have this in place to see any changes?
Through the chair, we're proposing that the ban on sales doesn't start till 2026 to allow businesses to sell any current merchandise that they have and to allow staff time to educate the community and the businesses of the changes. So really, we wouldn't see a full year of the impact until at least 2027.
Okay, thank you. And not seeing anyone else in the queue. Oh, Councillor Michaud. Oh, okay. Yep, please go ahead, Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, and thanks again, staff. I will support your recommendation for number 2. I do think that we will see an improvement. I do support banning the sale of fireworks. I think to your point, people are going to have to make plans to go get them. It's not going to be a knee-jerk reaction. And in my mind, the people that make the plans that have some kind of a celebration around it are a lot more responsible than the ones that are just going out and just buying them and lighting them anywhere on the streets near cars, which has happened in the ward that I represent. So I appreciate all you've done for this, and I think that this is going in the right direction. Is it going to solve the problem? No. We're probably going to have the same amount of issues that we had in years past. But to your point, I think we'll start to see a decrease in things, and it'll take some pressure off of our bylaw, hopefully eventually, and bring our communities back to a more reasonable environment during Canada Day and these other celebrations. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I'd like to propose an amendment. Do I do that now or do I do it later?
You can do that now.
Okay, so I would like to, I just sent it to Ms. Saunderson. So I'd like to add something in the bylaw that says, or in the report, that directs staff to come back with a plan to transition away from city-run fireworks displays to an alternative such as drones. So for city-run events, that we transition away from fireworks altogether.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Do you want to write that down and send that to them, or? Oh, they have it. Okay, okay. Okay. Okay, so in the meantime, we'll keep going with comments and then come back and deal with that first. Councillor Janelle.
Thank you, Chair. I will support the motion. I'm hoping that it alleviates some of the problems we've had the last couple of years. I have a strange suspicion we might be here in a couple of years looking at a complete ban. I'm hope we don't get there, because that means that something else, possibly more tragic, would have happened at that point in time. But I trust in our staff in making the best decision from talking with other municipalities across the country. So I will support the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Janelle. Councillor Obadani.
Thank you very much. I do hope internet is better now. I want to first say a big thank you to staff for the work that they've done. Took a lot of work to get to this level, speaking to the other municipalities and also connecting with our neighboring municipalities, at least to be able to come to this space. I like the option number 2, and I definitely want to support that. Like Councillor Deneau said, we probably will be coming back to this in a few years' time, but hopefully that gets us started in the right direction. I think my only concern, once again, is around those that know the laws and just want to just violate it simply because they feel that they can. And I think it's something that hopefully we'll find an answer to as time goes on. But thank you very much for the great work. I'm definitely supporting option number 2 with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Obadani. Councillor Ioannidis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Johnston. I just want to again say how impressed and how amazing the work that staff has done on this. To be able to coordinate between all of the area municipalities into this one particular agreement that everyone shares, I think is rather very, very impressive in my mind. So I'm very happy to support the recommendation by staff, and then on top of the amendment that's been proposed, I won't be supporting that amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I echo the comments about all the work and time and effort that's gone into this. I want to thank the other municipalities too who were part of this and are trying to work on this together. I'm going to support this. It is, I have to say honestly, a bit of a challenge because the vast majority of citizens in our city use fireworks responsibly, and this is kind of a reaction to those that don't, and that's unfortunate. Councillor Michaud and I have had the discussion too, like we're a little older, but my memory of fireworks when we were kids, they weren't as loud. If there was any sound at all, it was maybe a bit louder than a clap. You know, the fireworks industry, I don't know if there's a way of toning down the noise or not having noise. That could go a big way in helping to resolve this issue as well. It really is unfortunate, but for all the time and the effort and the frontline experience our bylaw team has in helping to deal with this, I'm happy to support this. I really, really do hope that the unsafe use of fireworks is the instance we've had with Councillor Wright from Waterloo, just totally unacceptable. And I never want to see that happen to anybody One of my concerns are, that we are banning the sales of fireworks, and that's by legitimate and registered and certified retailers who are selling certified products. I do have a concern that we might see some off-market fireworks for sale, and that could do a safety concern as well. I think this is making the best of what we have to work with. And just again, thank you, staff, for all the hard work. And, when these days come, for the great work that you and your team do, trying to keep things enforced.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I'm wondering if staff could put up the amendment. I'm not sure. I'm not clear if I'm going to be supporting that yet. I just want to make sure I understand it right. Okay, sorry, I'm just thinking out loud, but I'm comfortable with staff looking at alternatives as drones. I'm not sure I'm at the place yet where I don't ever want to see fireworks at City Hall. I'm making comment, but I'm just kind of worried if I vote against this, then it's saying no to drones, which I'd like to see as explored as well. I just don't like the reference to transitioning away from fireworks at this early stage, so I'm going to think on that, Madam Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Going to Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. And in making my comments, I do want to begin by thanking staff for the great work that they did on preparing this report. It certainly came at the direction of council to do that, and staff not only did a great job of that, but also worked very effectively with area municipalities to try to find a collaborative approach that would be amenable with everyone. However, as I reflect on all of this, and normally we all are very much share sort of a common vision. I think I'm going to be a bit of an outlier on this one today. And I say that because at the end of the day, I still need to be true to myself and some of the principles that I hold. And as much as I respect all of council's viewpoints and the direction where this is clearly going, I would hope that my colleagues will see, will understand that as well. I can't support the motion primarily because I am very significantly concerned that the problem that exists is not going to get solved by this. The problem that exists is the extremely bad and illegal behavior of one human being towards another human being, or groups of human beings in terms of some of the bad activities that we saw in some of our parks and so on. And when I consider the fact that, for many people in Kitchener, as an example, they can get to Shakespeare, they can get to Wellington County, they can get to the Kissin Park on Highway 6 and the store that's there at the gas station and so on, easier than they can get up to Elmira or South Cambridge if they wanted to purchase. They're going to find ways to purchase either that way, with a 15-minute drive, or quite frankly, going on Amazon and getting it delivered overnight. And what worries me is when we pass bylaws that people feel are government overreach into the lives of citizens, we start seeing people lose faith in the system, and we start seeing that particularly where there's a bylaw and people don't feel it can be legitimately enforced or isn't being legitimately enforced, and we know what the challenges are, that people start losing faith in the system. And that's my concern where we may be going with this particular issue. I recognize there's some people in the community that are obviously going to love this and think it's the way to go. There's others who are going to think that we haven't gone far enough. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, there needs to be a balance here, and what we're doing is taking something away from the vast majority of well-behaved people doing the right thing because of the actions of a few. And well, clearly that's the direction it appears that we're going to be going. And as mayor, I will accept ultimately the will of council once it's ratified at council. I think I need to just speak my truth on this issue as I see it. The last point that I will say is I won't be able to support the amendment either. Well, there's nothing preventing us right now from looking at laser light shows, drone shows. Staff have looked at them. And I think we should continue to look at them, maybe some kind of hybrid or whatever. I don't think an outright ban of even municipal shows is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Stretch.
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to make a few comments. I think at this time, especially this upcoming Canada Day and possibly our next Canada Day, I think it's important that we are equipping our public with memory-making experiences, with significant ways to come together and communally experience something together, especially celebrating our country or important other holidays. And so I think this is as far as I'm willing to go to support the second recommendation as far as seeing it, because I do want to see fireworks as an option for the municipality and for residents who do use it safely and well and are able to follow the rules. I think there are many, and I would like to see that continue. I do think people will be able to buy fireworks. If there's a will, there's a way, and I think making that harder, that I'm willing to do that as well. But again, just wanted to reiterate that this is likely as far as I'm willing to go. And as far as the amendment on the floor, Councillor Chapman, I was wondering if in your wording it was integral to your motion to transition away from the city-run fireworks to maybe saying to vary the approach or broaden the approach in a communal experience.
Am I on?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll speak to my amendment in a moment and where it comes from, but I really truly believe we need to transition away from fireworks, and I think it's an environmental reason that we have to do that. So I prefer to leave it the way it is.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Stretch, are you still?
No, I think that's good. Oh, sorry, one more thing I forgot to add. In the mayor's comments earlier, he talked about perhaps looking at the province to regulate the different levels. Now, I'm not an expert in this, but I do know the different types of fireworks that are available from even 20 years ago are different. So I'm wondering, if that's not our role, but that the fireworks that are able to be bought by residential use, are they highly regulated, and is that something maybe if we're seeing more and more unsafe behavior, something that we could advocate for? So it's more, I guess that's a question, but more of a wondering, I guess, and maybe staff, or I'm not sure who knows the answer to that question.
Can staff answer that question?
Through the chair, we would have to look into that a little bit further to see who and how we would advocate for that, but we would be willing to look into that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stretch. Councillor Owadani.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just had a quick question. Needed clarity on something. There are three options. Which one are we going to be voting on? I'm not sure exactly how that works.
I'm sorry, and I didn't hear that. It is the recommendation number 2. Thanks. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to ask a question of staff, if I could. Just again, I think I'm going to be voting against the amendment. Just want to ensure that that does not preclude staff from exploring drone technology in tandem for Canada Day or other times of the year. I want to make sure that I'm not voting against that opportunity.
Who would like to answer that? Okay, Mr. Reedman?
Through the chair, so we would be looking at the technology through the special event strategy in the future as well.
Regardless, okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chapman?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to the amendment. And as I said a couple minutes ago, I'm coming at this from an environmental perspective. And it's known, and I think it was in the report as well, that, you know, climate change is real. And fireworks let off carbon monoxide, nitric oxide, and carbon dioxide. And forest fires, we have forest fires, you know, every year raging in the not too far distance, and we get droughts in the summers, right? Climate change is so unpredictable. And also the particle pollutants that are emitted through fireworks. So that's why I'm bringing this forward. I really do think to me, it's not a hybrid solution that we should be looking for. It's a banning in our own events so that we set the example to the rest of the community. And if we don't set that example, it's hard for us to enforce, you know, the measures that are being proposed here. I'm going to support option 2 because I know a lot of work has been put into it, but I do think as a city we can do far more to you know, to stop this and to not be drawn into it. Drone shows are amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but they can be amazing shows. And so maybe we don't bring a 5-star band to Canada Day. We spend a bit less, but we do an amazing drone show. That itself can be an attraction. So, yeah, I hope you can support my motion, or my amendment to the motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davey. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to support option number 2 as well. I'm not going to support the amendment at this time. I don't know, maybe I just think about raising my own kids, and when they're older now, but when they were young, I just don't like the idea of them, you know, I get the environmental perspective, and I get that we should reduce the use of fireworks for sure, but this would be the one event a year that I you know, that people bring their families in together, and I just don't like the idea of my kids, for example, or if I was a young parent, never being able to see fireworks. So I was actually fortunate enough, a few years back, I was at my family was visiting New York, and we were there on July 4th, and we had the Macy's Day display. And what I thought was fantastic was the first, I don't know, remember how long it was, but the first 20 or so minutes was a drone display, and it was a massive drone display. It was very, very impressive. But after that, they also, they had a fireworks display as well. And I think there's room for both of these things, especially in isolated events run by government once a year. And there is a small, I think, environmental cost if we keep going down the road of reducing it. But again, the idea of having, you know, children never being able to see that great spectacle isn't something I want to support at this time.
Okay, thank you. A recorded vote? Yes. On the amendment and the main motion? Yes. I will look to staff to get that set up. So yes, we are voting on the amendment first. Go on. Okay. It's still flashing. It seems to be. And okay. I think we need to do that again. Is that right? Staff, if that's not working, we can do the old-fashioned stand up to record our votes, if that's easier. Should be fine now. Okay, everybody, go ahead and vote. Okay. And then I'll ask separately, Councillor Owodani, do you want to cue in so that you can answer? Okay, go ahead.
I voted already. Oh, you don't see it?
No, you need to verbally let us know.
Oh, verbally, no.
So you're opposed? Okay, thank you. And Councillor Ioannidis? Councillor Ioannidis? Yes, please go ahead.
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And Councillor Michaud voted. Okay, and that did not pass. Okay, and now we'll move on to the main motion, and we'll be with Councillor Michaud's. Did it change it? Okay, now we'll move on to the main motion then, and it's recorded vote as well. Councillor Ioannidis, how do you vote?
In favor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Owodani, how do you vote?
Yes, in favor.
In favor. Okay, thank you. Okay, and that passes. Thanks, everyone. Okay, we have no information items, and I need a mover to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Davey, all those in